as a psychiatrist, one of the most common chief complaints that I get is depression. What we call depression sometimes may be better understood from a slightly different perspective. In today's segment, I'm going to offer 5 reflections on the question, are you really depressed? I'm drkerryann Williams, and this is your Mental Health Boost. Reflection number 1. Are you experiencing depression or is it discouragement? In this category, I'm going to group together discouragement, disappointment, and self-pity. Depression is frequently associated with discouragement. In fact, people who experience a clinical depression are prone to feelings of discouragement. However, not everyone who experiences discouragement is having a major depressive episode. Sometimes when it feels like a medication is not working, it's because there's an issue like this. There's chronic feelings of disappointment about what has happened in your life. There's discouragement about what you can hope for the future. And there's self-pity about who you have become. And self-pity is like mud. You can get stuck there for a long time, and there is no medication for self-pity. If you're at a place in your treatment for depression where you are feeling stuck and not making progress, ask yourself the question, is this depression or is this a persistent feeling of discouragement, disappointment, and self-pity? And am I willing to work with a therapist towards releasing this mindset? Reflection number 2. Are you experiencing depression or is it grief? Sometimes what you're experiencing is long-term grief. Now, grief is a big topic and it's worthy of its own discussion, but I bring it up because people don't always recognize grief. I think the most widely recognized type of grief is the loss of a person or the loss of a pet. But grief can also be the loss of a dream or the loss of a relationship. Or take, for example, if a man has a job for 20 years at the same company and then gets terminated, he may appear depressed, but he may actually be grieving the loss of all that job represented or meant to him. Grief can lead to a depressive disorder, but it is helpful to recognize and label grief for what it is, because it can help you to better define the goals of therapy and to ensure that you have the correct therapeutic approach. Reflection number 3. Are you depressed or unfulfilled? Sometimes when people experience depression, it's more like a chronic dissatisfaction with life. It's not discouragement, disappointment, or self-pity. It is the question, am I doing what I was created to do? It's a nagging feeling that there's something more out there. It's a feeling of being chronically suppressed regarding your full potential. It's a classic story of a person who feels stuck in a job that doesn't challenge them to be more creative or to think more strategically. But the key word is they feel stuck there, whether for financial reasons or for geographical reasons or any other situation. And that can lead to that persistent feeling of unfulfillment. Another example is someone who has felt obligated to work in a traditional high-paying career when they would rather be a starving artist. And they can't quit their job because now their family depends on it. So they go to work every day solely for the sake of their family, but they're feeling unfulfilled. Sometimes this kind of situation explains why your treatment for depression has plateaued. Reflection number 4. Are you depressed or is it burnout? Burnout is a type of psychological exhaustion. It generally happens as a slow fade over a long period of time, but it can happen more quickly depending on the situation. Burnout happens for a lot of reasons, but it could happen due to a combination of long-term overwork, few opportunities to reclaim your time, few opportunities to replenish yourself psychologically, and few opportunities to refuel your motivations. You end up feeling drained, unmotivated, and you start to question whether you're on the right path for your job and your life. And it can be tricky sometimes to discern which is which, burnout versus depression. And burnout is actually a huge topic of its own. So if you wonder whether this may apply to you, I would suggest doing some more reading on what burnout is. Knowing which is which may give you some direction for what to do next. Reflection number 5. Is it depression or is it bitterness? When a person has had an experience or a group of experiences in life that are incredibly unfair and unjust, they can hold on tightly to the injustice of the situation for years. It can evolve into bitterness. You never received an apology. You never had a resolution. In fact, you were the one that was punished in the situation. Persistent irritability and unhappiness may be connected to those deep wounds. When this is the case, you have not been able to achieve the psychological and emotional resolution, which some people refer to as forgiveness. Other people don't like the term forgiveness, but some kind of psychological and emotional resolution stands in between the suffering and the healing. For some people, the concept of healing from an injustice is the same thing as an acquittal for the person who did the wrong, especially if your pain is the only remaining evidence of the wrongdoing. So it can get kind of complicated. But knowing that what you're dealing with is bitterness can give you some direction for where to go next. So what do you think? Are you really depressed? Take a moment to like, subscribe, and share this video with those in your circle. Drop a comment below to let me know what you thought of the 5 reflections today. And have a great week.